that? Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
Here we go, BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 5, Episode 5. And we are back live in the bunker. I am joined by the greatest co-host in fantasy football podcast history, the owner of Born to Run. Walt is here. Walt, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be back in the bunker instead of calling in like last week.
Yeah, it's always better to be live.
For sure.
No doubt there. We got a lot to talk about as we head in to this week's recap. We've got some trades to talk about. It's exciting. I can't wait to get started. Where do you want to start talking about last week's recap?
Let's talk about the Soaring Eagles Born to Run.
Soaring Eagles and Born to Run. All right, let's get into it. This was NFL Week 5 action.
Going quick, isn't it?
It's going to. It always goes
I know,
too fast.
it's insane.
I can't stand it. But Born to Run takes on the Soaring Eagles. This was a game that everyone was looking forward to based on the projections, and it ends up with a 150.7 to 145.75 shootout with Born to Run taking it, moving into first place at 4-1-0. Walt, tell us about your game.
Yeah, it was a really good game. I mean, great. Jordan had an excellent week as well. I mean, you score 145 points.
Yeah.
You tend to win a lot of games with that, and he got spotted a nice lead with Drake London, but I just had, Burrow went off. I really had no one except for Olave on Monday night, which scared the living crap out of me.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been, but it was.
It was actually, as I recall watching that game, I had thought earlier on Sunday that it was looking bleak for the Soaring Eagles, and what they needed was for Olave and Butker to hit, I think, less than like 11 points.
Yeah.
And boy, Olave did his part.
I know.
Butker rose up and saved you.
Yeah, Butker was clutch. So, I was going to put in there, like, I don't care what his views are, as long as he gets me a win. He's welcome on my team. So, but yeah, that was it. I mean, it really was. It was a really, really close game. So, I feel bad for Jordan. He seems like he's falling on some tough luck here and there, and and like we had said before he came on air, sometimes I don't know. It's like no matter what you do, it just luck doesn't seem to turn around. And I hope that won't be the rest of the season for the Eagles.
Yeah, he had really good performances. C.J. Stroud snapped out of. He had one off week and he goes over 20 points. Kyron Williams solid.
Very solid.
He gets betrayed by Devon Achane, but that's.
Did he get hurt?
Expected. I don't remember. If anyone wants
Part
to
of
call
me
or chat,
thinks maybe he did get hurt. And that,
see if ESPN can tell us here. This is a guy that can go off any week and go over 20. It doesn't indicate. Oh no, he got a concussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, he went out early. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So that always hurts.
Yeah. So that again, there's that tough luck.
That is again Drake London, a player that I think across fantasy people have been waiting for in terms of is this player going to become that number one wide receiver, and he puts up 34.4 fantasy points this week. Did that scare you when that happened?
Yeah, it did. I mean, you never want to spot someone 34 points, but I haven't been around a long time. In fantasy, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, it's
crazy.
It is. It's absolutely crazy.
Drake London, as we see on the screen right now, currently after that 34.4 performance, the number 8 wide receiver.
That's incredible.
In BARFF Fantasy Football.
Yeah, and you got Cousins throwing. I was watching it. Cousins definitely. They're not going to be afraid to throw 40, 50 times a game. So.
Yep. Now, on your side of the ball, Joe Burrow comes alive.
That
Cincinnati
Burrow looked
offense
really
has been
good.
Having a lot of trouble, and he puts up 39.7 points. I'm not sure where that ranks. Kamish is unprepared with his research this week, but that's got to be one of the top performances in fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, he's moved Burrow. That moved Burrow like ranked 6th in position. So, like you said, it's got to be one of the highest point totals for a QB this year so far.
Yeah, that's
unless that Josh Allen week where he had he almost had that perfect rating, that Sunday night game or Monday night game. I bet you that was probably close to rivaling that.
Sure. That is a huge point total. And when you are facing an opponent that had a 30-point player, as we just talked about with Drake London, to have another player on your side of the ball go off for over 30, that's pretty amazing. And Harrison Butker comes up with 14 points from the kicking position to save you. So that's what you want. So that puts you in solid position in first place. Soaring Eagles fall to 9th. Unfamiliar territory for Soaring Eagles.
1-4.
1-4. It's not the light is not snuffed out.
No, and it's not panic time yet.
Yeah, not time to panic.
No, we got with that extra game too in the NFL season. Sure. It's not panic time yet, but. Sure. Another loss this week in a row, then who knows?
1-5 is time to start.
1-5 is a little. I've been there.
Believe me, I've lived there.
It's not a great feeling. I can tell you that.
I sell real estate in 1-5, and it's a great neighborhood. Yeah. So that's a squeaker 150 to 145. That was definitely one of the games of the week. Where do you want to go next?
Let's talk worst team ever and Huey.
Worst team ever taking on Huey Lewis in the News. Huey coming in was our first place team.
Yep.
Now they fall to second place with this loss, 100.75 for worst team ever to 92.25 for Huey Lewis in the News. A little bit of a power outage for Huey Lewis. What was the key to victory for worst team ever this time?
I think worst team. Well, I think it was more a factor of what Huey didn't do when you had Deshaun Watson, who he was putrid. He was so bad.
Deshaun Watson is bad. Right?
And then you had Debo only get 3, and his buddy, who's been really helping him out a lot, Deontay Johnson, only had 6. So that's a lot of nothing out of 3 guys that you expect way more than that from. Yeah. Because if you look on the flip side, it's not like worst team ever had a banner day other than maybe another great pickup for Tyler, and worst team ever is Tucker Kraft, who looks amazing.
Tucker Kraft.
I mean,
25 points.
I mean, he did it. He didn't get that from Tucker Kraft. Worst team ever loses and keeps me in the Survivor pool, which I would have liked. But
currently ranked the number 3.
Isn't that incredible?
Tight end in BARFF Fantasy Football is Tucker Kraft.
Yeah,
we're going to take a little
free agent pickup too.
Free agent pickup, and in a year where tight ends are killing everybody, worst team ever ends up with a player that seems to be someone he can rely on, at least this early in the season, averaging 11.4 points from the tight end position. We're going to take a look at Tyler Kraft here. Let me just grab this graphic, get it up. This is Tyler Kraft doing his work. He's a big guy, and he ends up going and getting the job done here.
Wide open.
Just a simple play. And then he's got speed. This is a big guy. Gives the stiff arm, knocks the player down, and just rumbles in. And this is leading points that Tyler definitely needed. That's
right.
30. It's like a 9-point play. Right
right.
One shot.
Absolutely.
So Tucker Kraft doing good things for worst team ever. On the other side of the ball, Huey Lewis in the News. We talked about Deshaun Watson. Kamara didn't do a lot, and Debo 3 points. I think that's probably the shocker for me this week. You don't expect that from Debo Samuel. And then Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's been a great
he's been solid
this year.
Yep.
As we call him up, he's averaging 12.6 points per week, and then this week he just lays an egg
completely. Yeah, and it's, I think the problem with Huey is they tried to find someone for Richardson and he picked Deshaun, so that's unfortunate. But that's, to me, his Achilles heel. If you look at Huey's team, that's the one position I don't like at all of what they have there.
Yeah, Richardson has been struggling. So that is a weakness. Saquon Barkley on the bye this week for them also doesn't help. So we'll have to say this looks like for a team that was number 1 heading in, this is more likely than not, I'll say, an aberration, and we'll see if they can't get back on the horse this week.
Might be time to look at trading for a quarterback potentially for Huey.
Could be. Yep. Especially if Anthony Richardson, I understand they want they have a lot invested in him, but to me, I don't know why you rush him back. Like Flacco seems like he's going to be okay flinging the ball around in an offense. To make sure he's 100% healthy is all I'm saying, but we'll see what they do.
You're right, and maybe it's too early to give up on him quite. Yeah.
Talented guy. He showed it in spurts, but just kind of a train wreck. Not Deshaun Watson bad, but he's been
Yeah, I mean,
struggling
Watson's
for sure.
just horrible right now.
He's not good.
Absolutely horrible.
Not good. Where do you want to go next?
Well, let's look at the Rifle against no lineup.
All right, this was a great game. Springfield Rifle taking on no lineup needed. We had hope for the Rifle this week. They have tough luck again. They fall 139.6 to 93.85. No lineup moves into third place. The Rifle falling to 10th place. Where did things start to go wrong for the Rifle?
I mean, Josh Allen, that was a tough game. You're only getting 16 out of him. And then, you got Ford with 8, Jennings with only 2.3, and then Zach Ertz, like there was a huge power outage there and that. Yeah. And then go flip the other side just between Lamar and Garrett Wilson. No lineup had over 60 points just with those two guys. So, yeah, it was one of those games. It wasn't even close. And, it's again, all of us have weeks like that where your team doesn't really do much. And
too many single digits.
It's way too many single digits. Yep.
And 17 points below projection overall for the team.
Yeah, so that's a killer too.
Yeah, no lineup goes 16 points over projection, which is exactly what you want. A player that's been a little inconsistent, I'll bring up Garrett Wilson, goes 30 points. That's huge.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, we'll talk about his 37 in a minute, but Garrett Wilson's been kind of up and down. He gets he's averaging 14.7, but to get a big day from him, 30 points, coming off a disappointing performance last week, that's got to make this owner happy.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's getting by without Neighbors being in the lineup, so that's always a plus when one of your better guys ain't in there and you're still winning. So yeah, no lineup. Watch out for them.
Yep, they're looking good.
It's a good-looking team.
Got Lamar Jackson. We just put his graphic up. Position number 1 in BARFF fantasy football.
Yeah, he's looking really good right now.
Crazy. Where do you want to go now?
All right, so let's look at the Moppers and the Knuckleheads.
Oh boy, the Whopper Moppers and the Knuckleheads. Power outage in Knuckleheads land, which is I should sell T-shirts because I've said that so many times in the pod. 132.5, great day for Whopper Moppers, moving to 2-3. 91.65 for Knuckleheads, falling to 2-3. They're the 7th and 8th team in fantasy football for BARFF right now. What happened in this game?
Well, I think what happened is DJ Moore woke up and he had a nice 2-touchdown performance. I was watching some of those highlights. So he gets a nice 28 points. Flowers had a nice day. And, and everybody else contributed nicely as well. And then, unfortunately for your side, I think, Wilson getting his 30. Brees Hall then only gets 6.7.
6.7.
That kills. And then Noku and Pickens. You're looking at 2 of them combined for like 8 points, so that really hurts. And of course, add insult to injury, the Colts were -3 as a D.
Like I just can't understand, and I need to stop talking about NFL teams on the pod because what we did was we talked a little bit about Jacksonville last week and what they were struggling offense. I pick up the Colts D to pound on them, and they just light up the Colts D. Like a -3 for my defense. It wouldn't have made a difference, but it would have at least brought me to respect.
Well, right, definitely.
That's all I'm looking for in Knuckleheads Land is a little bit of respectability. So right now, Whopper Moppers just 2 spots out of a playoff spot as we start to head towards the halfway point. So that's a good performance from them.
Yes, yeah, nothing wrong with 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yep. Where do you want to go now?
Well, this was the one of the more interesting games, I thought. The Beans against the Pantloads.
Boston Beans and Sody Pantloads. This was a really fun game, back and forth. 156.2 win for the Beans, a huge output. Taking on the Pantloads put up 139.3, much like Soaring Eagles.
Yep.
You expect to win with that point total, and they fall this week to the Boston Beans. What was the key to victory for Beans?
Jamar Chase was the key, and he had a couple of nice long touchdowns. Got him to 43 points. Absolutely incredible. And, I mean, like you said, it's tough to pick on the Pantloads. They had 139, almost 140 points.
Yeah, that's a great
So
week.
It's tough to be critical. One other thing, too, on the Beans, again, we've been a little, harsh on the Beans, but Geno Smith, who he has as his backup and who we may want to think about, he's actually the number 2 ranked quarterback in fantasy.
He is.
Who would have thought that?
He is. Geno Smith, that offense was looking good. 25 points and a loss to the Giants.
Yep.
But position rank number 2, 21.1 point average. I would like that. I have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback, and he's sitting at 15, averaging well under 20. So who knew? Geno Smith.
Geno Smith of all people.
That's unbelievable.
It is. It's incredible.
We talked about Jamar Chase having a really good week. He put up 43.3 points. And let's take a look.
That bumped him. That put him into number one as the number one fantasy receiver, Jamar Chase.
If you're getting that sort of point outage in a week, that will move you up several spots.
Really fast.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We're going to take a look at a resurgent offense. I think this is a team that was struggling, and Jamar Chase with one play can turn a game around. Just there, he comes out of traffic, and then boom. I don't think that Jamar Chase gets credit for the speed that he has, but he certainly showed it there.
He's one of those guys in pads. Like, he's faster in pads than like you see him.
Crazy.
Yeah, he definitely. And which is nice for me because, he's helped Joe Burrow as well.
Yep. They'll take on the Giants this week, and we'll see that.
Yeah, that should be a good game.
Well. Yeah, we're excited for that on Sunday Night Football. What do we have left? That leaves us with one game.
Yeah, that's it for the last week.
The roundup. All right, so that let's take a quick look at the standings as we are heading unbelievably, polishing up the first quarter of the season, and we're heading towards the halfway point. We've got Born to Run sitting in first place at 4-1, based on points for with a 91% per playoff percentage.
I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't even remember what it's like to win like that. That's
last year it was the dyslexia version of 19, I think, percent I had at this point in the season. So yeah, it's nice having that flipped around.
Also pulling in at 4-1, Huey Lewis in the News. They're officially in second place. They've got less points for by 80. Like you're leading the league with 694 points for. No lineup needed at 3-2. That's a three-way tie at 3-2. No lineup needed. Boston being Sody Pantloads. And then we've got the 2 and 3 teams, worst team ever, Whopper Moppers and Knuckleheads. And then the teams that are looking to pick up some quick W's now, Soaring Eagles and Springfield Rifle, both at 1 and 4. Rifle sitting in 10th place based on points for.
The Rifle concerns me because, although your team has 541 points, they have 550. When you start seeing from teams 4 and up, to me, if you start getting over 100-point more differential,
yeah.
Not to say, all I'm saying is when it comes down to tiebreaker at the end, that's a big number to try to make up in a short amount of time. So,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep, that's tiebreakers are tough when you start to fall behind. It's those sub 100-point weeks that kill us all.
Yeah, definitely. You can't have it's sub 100 is really tough in this day and age in fantasy football.
Absolutely. All right, so that polishes off our recap, and let's talk a little bit about the Survivor Pool. It is not a one and done this time.
We made it to a second week, which is I was so happy about.
So let's. I can't really do it off the top of my head. I don't know if you have.
Yes,
I do. Let me know who made it through and who did not this week.
All right, hold on.
BARFF Survivor Pool. We had a 1 week BARFF Survivor Pool last week, which was won by Born to Run.
Yep.
And now we have some competition.
Yeah. So basically, last week recapping, I went with worst team. I mean, with Huey because and you know what? Tyler barely hung on. I thought I was going to have a shot, but I got eliminated. You are still alive in the Survivor Pool.
It's amazing.
Actually, no lineup as well. Worst team ever also alive. And Sody and the Soaring Eagles, like me, were eliminated, and the Moppers are still alive. So you have 4 teams battling for our second Survivor Pool.
All right. Could we go to a third week?
That'd be pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing.
Actually, let's see. I just want to see if we have a nice split here on who's been picking who. So the Whoppers went with the Soaring Eagle. Worst team took Huey. You took, off the top of your head?
The Rifle.
The Rifle.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right, because we had a nice comment about that. And then
very confident.
Christian took Soaring again.
Yep.
Which I know Jordan does not like
Much
whatsoever.
To chagrin.
He does not like when people are picking him. So in theory, not everybody's riding the same team, there's actually a chance we might get to a third week.
This is amazing.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be great. Yeah, Survivor Pool. We don't know who it's going to be this time, and we could go to a third week. I'm going to catch up on the chat right now. We've fallen behind. SoxFan7687 has weighed in a few times. It says that worst team ever conceded the game 3 different times Monday night.
He did. No question.
Sodi thought it would be a good idea to put Najee in for T. Higgins late Saturday night. Those last-second decisions rarely work out. Victoria weighs in with Go Sodi. Oh,
wow!
Nice to hear you.
It's out. Yeah, no, that's
very good.
Nice to see Sodi actually has one fan.
We are expanding our viewership.
Yep.
Apparently, I like it.
Nice.
Jordan weighs in. Soaring Eagles did expect to win with that point total, as well they should have.
Like I said, you're gonna win 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just ran into the wrong team this week.
Yes, unfortunately. And so I would encourage anyone else to weigh in on the chat. The phone lines are open. The chat is open, and we are now going to take a look at the upcoming week. Let me get down into where we're at. We are heading into week 6 of the NFL season, and we've got some games now. This is the time of the season. We talked about this a little bit. When teams like these 1-4 teams, 1-4, not time to panic. 1-5, it's time to do something. 2-3 is you're in a decent position. 2-4, you're starting to take on water. So as early as it is in the season, and I can say from my perspective, always looking up in the standings, after this week, we'll know that some teams need to start doing some business.
Yeah, what happens is your margin for error just gets smaller and smaller.
Absolutely.
And like you said, if you go to 1-5, okay, think about that. 6 games, there's 14. I mean, there's only 8 games. How many more can you afford to lose just to get to that magic 7-7 record?
Yep.
You only got 2 more. The margin error just shrinks down.
100%.
And and that's tough, especially with how injuries. Every year they just seem to get worse and worse. The amount of injuries that happen on every given week. So
absolutely,
and that makes it tough.
It's hard to get anything of value. We talked about this off air. Anything of value on the waiver wire right now is really difficult. And so before we go into the next week's games, let's talk. We saw a flurry of activity. The waiver wire has been really hot, and we also had some trades this week. So let's talk first about your trade with worst team ever. Let's see if I can get this scroll down to that.
Yeah, mine was an easy reason for that trade. It was really just about, here I'm already thinking of the future.
All right.
And I don't know, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but it really was about securing a couple handcuffs for later in the season. So I got Charbonnet for Walker.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not starting. He's never going to get off my bench unless something happens to Walker. And same thing with Tank Dell. I mean, Nico Collins, I think, was the number 1 rated receiver before Chase. Nico's having a great year. Once Nico's healthy, I ain't starting Tank Dell. But it's nice to have Tank Dell there if Nico's on the bench. And for Tyler, really, you got Jordan Addison, which I think he's decent. He had a really good last year, so it helped him a little there. Not that he needs help at receiver, but really what he was looking for was to find a body. Well, here's where it backfired. Our Eeyore of the league said, all I want is a healthy body at running back. As soon as the deal happens, Stevenson goes to questionable mark, and now he's out with a foot.
Yeah, we've got him on the screen right now. So let's catch up though. To start, this trade was Jordan Addison and Ramondre Stevenson from Born to Run going to worst team ever for Tank Dell and Zach Charbonnet. Worst team ever looking for that healthy back. Ramondre Stevenson had been having an excellent year, averaging 13.5 points. But as we look down for news, he's got a foot injury. He's ruled out for the next game. Not considered a long-term concern at this point, but he's going to at least mix this game with worst team ever. Just thinks that they have that plug and play, and you can't plug.
Yeah, and now he thinks, no matter what, he's got the worst luck in the world. But because now it says they don't think it's long term. He also thought that with McCaffrey, and look where that's got him so far.
Sox fan 7687 weighs in with the worst team ever born to run trade was like when two NFL teams swap 7th round picks. That's a bit harsh.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, that's the way I viewed it. It wasn't hard to pull the trigger on it. Let's put it that way. It really was. Like I said, it was really for me just shoring up my bench.
Yep.
And just getting those handcuffs in there. So
I will say I was surprised at this because Born to Run rode Ramondre Stevenson. This is a player that is a definite friend of Born to Run.
Yeah,
and he gets, pack your bags and get out of town, kid.
I'm just holding people accountable for that bad season last year, and Stevenson was part of that team. So
He was.
So
He was. No Lineup weighed in on the chat. Good evening, No Lineup. He weighs in that he picked Soren in the survivor pool because he sent him weapons, and we're going to talk about those weapons right now. This was another trade that went down.
this one's really was interesting
This
to
is
me.
intriguing. So the Soren Eagles trade Kyron Williams, Jake Ferguson, and Jackson Smith-Nigba to No Lineup needed for James Conner and Jaden Reed.
Yep.
And so what stands out to me, like Kyron Williams having a good year, James Conner having a good year, is Jake Ferguson the linchpin in this trade.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have heard from No Lineup on this one. That was my assumption, because other than that, to me, it just looked like you just kind of swapped out back to back, one back for one back and one receiver for another receiver. So I assume that's what No Lineup wanted to do, was shore up that tight end position.
And an off year for tight ends, and a train wreck year for tight ends. Jake Ferguson is averaging double digits. He's positionally ranked 9th for BARFF. In his last 3 games, 15.5, 11.9, 13.0. This is, I mean, as far as the tight end market right now, this is an elite tight end, and he gets traded. So we'll see how that works out for both of these teams.
Yeah, I am curious what Soren Eagles were, and maybe they can weigh in on the chat. My feeling is Jaden Reed was the guy they were targeting. I don't think it was Connors for Kyron Williams. That seems like a even swap back and forth.
It can be. I really like the Kyron Williams performance so far. Is positionally ranked 4th with 19.6, and let's take a look at James Conner where he's sitting right now. I mean, 15.3. This is another really good player. So yeah, that is a wash. Jaden Reed. Maybe Soren was really targeting Jaden Reed. They figured they could wash a running back.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, and and like I said, maybe we get him to weigh in on the chat. But when I saw this, I was curious what the appeal was for the Soren Eagles. What really made them, and hopefully not a desperation type move.
Soren, if you're we've got so Soren makes a great point in the chat. They've got Hawkinson coming back. And so he needs a win on Kyron Williams the bye week, and he gets an elite wide receiver because he lost. I forgot also he lost Rashee Rice.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So, and it's a bye week thing. So what? Yeah. I don't mind that at all, because again, there's no week you can just concede and say I'm not going to try to win that week, especially now for Soren 1-4. So that logic, I don't know if I agree with the Hawkinson logic. He got that knee injury pretty late in the season, and I don't know how long it's going to take him to really get up to snuff.
I think they activated his window.
Right, they did. I think you're right. Yeah.
So maybe he's farther along than we thought.
Yeah,
That's a tough guy. I hope he doesn't come back too soon.
Well, right.
He's a tough guy.
Right, definitely.
So we'll see how that works.
So
out.
it's
that's an intriguing part of that.
Very intriguing trade. We'll see how that pans out.
All right, so those were the 2 trades.
By the way, now I know though who approached for a trade if maybe he loses this week or next week. Soren. I don't know. You get in that head of his and walk around a little, you might be able to talk him into doing something.
Oh boy, that could be a challenge that you might see accepted. Oh boy. All right.
He just put me on a no trade list probably for making that comment.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look at upcoming BARFF action. We're going to look at the scoreboard for this upcoming week. What game do you want to look at first?
Let's look at the Pantloads and Born to Run. Since we had a couple guys go last night.
That's right. We are in a Friday night podcast. Right now, Born to Run is ahead in this one, 20.9 to 5.7, taking on Sody Pantloads. And how do you see this game going this way?
Well, I didn't like it at first, but now I like it way better than I did before it started, because I thought Walker might, I wasn't really thinking that 17-point projection he was going to live up to that against the Niners. And, he was doing okay, but the fourth quarter, he got a lot of garbage points, and he got that touchdown too. So, and Ayuk, I don't know what's going on there. He wasn't even being targeted. He's lucky he got 5 out of them.
There's something weird going on
Definitely.
in the situation. Especially a week where Debo didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was with Sody on this one because I even made a bet on DraftKings that he was going to be an anytime TD scorer.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Ayuk, he had a decent game. I'm like, okay, he's getting into midseason form now, and yeah, that was so I can't fault the Pantloads for starting him. I actually thought he was going to have a good week.
Yeah.
So that hurts. That's you don't love starting out with only 6 from a receiver.
I agree.
And and I get 21 out of a running back, which is always a really nice week for a running back.
Yep, I agree. So I want to take a little bit of a pause here. Last week we took a look at some pretty interesting gymnastics done by Kenneth Walker, and so I'm just bringing up Kenneth Walker from that, where he was tackled or attempted to be tackled. I think it was Anzioni, and his knees never touched, and then he hopped back over. So he got his feet and then took off. And we played that graphic last week. I want to do a little segment that we're going to call Ouch. We glorified offensive players so far in the replays. And so let's just take a look at some defensive players giving it back, including one that's going to be reminiscent of that play that Kenneth Walker pulled off. This is not anything that is gymnastic or athletic. This is merely someone laying the wood, and this is about as dead as you can be.
That is
out
like
on a football field.
out
Right
on
there.
your feet
Yeah.
immediately.
Yep, you don't want to see anyone get hurt, but that's rough. This is an insane linebacker play right here against the Cowboys. Steelers-Cowboys classic stuff right there. And then I believe that this is the game where we're going to see the craziness here. This is a punt return. Return is going to get held up, and this simply flying suplex.
That's like Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Let's look at that
Old
again.
school.
Let's take another one. Josh Allen can't even believe that it happened. But we're going to show it in slow motion. This is a punt return. Some of these guys really want to get playing time, and that is our WWE news of the week. And it's not, we don't want to put it out on the defensive players. Jordan Mason showing that the offensive players can give as well as they get. And so he's just going to put the hand down and no thank you.
Look at that strength to just toss a guy down like that. It's incredible.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of some more fanciness and some pain in football, just like we have in fantasy. Where do you want to go next?
All right, let's see. The next game. Wow, a lot of scoring in there. So let's look at the Rifle against worst team ever.
All right, the Rifle taking.
So we got to do a little analysis of this one.
Yep. So right now, there's already good points being scored. Springfield Rifle 39.3 already against worst team ever.
Okay.
23 points on just based on Thursday night. Tell me about this game.
Well, I got to tell you one thing right now. I'm calling it. The Rifle's winning this game because he got 16 and then 22 out of Kittle, and 16 out of a Lockett against Frisco. That's huge. And then, and it was unfortunate. Jordan Mason got hurt. He got hurt like midway second quarter. He was going to have a huge game.
Yeah, we just saw him. That's a player that just runs strong, and now he's hurt.
And then DK had a long touchdown. There was an illegal formation. I was watching that game.
That hurts.
So Mason and DK and your D only account for 23. Boy. Yeah, like I said, I'm calling it. I don't see the Rifle losing this game.
Projections have it going big for the Rifle, 134.3 to 107 now after Thursday night.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's unfortunate. We'll see though. Justin Fields, I wonder. There's whispers, I'm not so sure Russell Wilson's far off. So
yeah, I heard that too. Yep.
So I would worry about having Justin.
That's a great point.
But we'll see. Worst team ever, opponent 2-3 is the Rifle looking to make them even at 2-4. We'll see what happens. Who's next?
Okay, so this one's a tricky one because so let's look at the Huey and the Whoppers.
All right, Huey Lewis in the news taking on Whopper Moppers. Huey Lewis has the lead right now, 22.7,
which we saw last week.
Yeah.
You know, wide receiver getting you that doesn't, you know, definitely that can be overcome. So it's a nice start for sure.
Yeah,
but you know, I wouldn't say that cements anything at this point. It's way
so
too early.
Down. I need to look at Debo because last week Debo did basically zero. He's averaging 14.7, which is great for a wide receiver, but starts off 18, 19, then 10, then 3, now 22. It's such
tough
a
to trust
coaster.
him. It really is.
Such a roller coaster. But this week he starts out strong, 22.7 to bring Huey Lewis out of the box. Can Whopper Moppers overcome that?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I think there's enough there. But, you know, he's got to pick up a D, so whatever. That's no big deal. Tough matchups, though. Although I will say this. I think Gibbs will be okay against the Cowboys. ETN, no. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to be the odd man out soon. So I do have concerns for the Moppers this week. I really think this is going to be a pretty close game when it comes down to it. So yeah,
this will be a fun one to watch. Let's catch up on the chat. Soren feels uncomfortable without half the league up in arms about the deal, so he's expecting flack from the deal. No lineup has upside running backs, and he's got Neighbors coming back. Not this week, but he will be coming back. Soren weighs in that worst team ever wanted Kyron Williams, and so he wanted to spite him.
Well,
excuse me.
That's probably the best reason for making that trade that I've heard. So.
Commission's still a little sick. Sorry for coughing, everyone. No lineup is also just flat out weighing in with a little bit of spite. Also, Ty Stinks and Sox fan weighing in worst team ever with the earliest concession in BARFF history on a Thursday night. A little bit too much piling on worst team ever here. So that catches us up on the chat. Where do you want to go next?
Well, I know a way for worst team ever to stop all that, and that's win his first championship. So that'll take care of it.
Yep, that will silence a lot of doubt.
So let's look at the lineup against probably one of the hottest teams in the league, the Boston Beans.
Lineup taking on Boston Beans. Both of these teams pulling in at 3-2 this week. Right now, no lineup has been spotted to a 10.3-0 lead based on Jackson Smith and Jigba's play on Thursday night. Tell me about this game.
This game's going to be really interesting because Beans gets Jalen Hurts back. Jamar Chase is on a roll. Scary Terry, I like. He's opportunistic. He punches in Antonio Gibson, knowing he's going to be the starter now.
Yeah.
He's got his Evan Ingram back, A.J. Brown back, and so I mean, this is mostly the team that the Beans drafted. So I like seeing that. I think it's going to be really, really competitive. No lineup stuck in Trey Sermon because Jonathan Taylor's not going to be around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So here's my concerns. Cooper and the Cleveland offense has done absolutely nothing. Will Garrett Wilson replicate against Buffalo like he did the week before? Right, he's another guy to watch out for. So I'm going to say I just got a feeling the Beans. I'm going to give the Beans a little bit of an edge here on this game.
All right, yeah. Boston Beans certainly has... we talked about how it's not too late to panic, and they're certainly not in panic mode at 3-2. But my point is that this early in the season, it can take a while for the roster to even start to come together. And it looks like that's starting to happen for Boston Beans, so it could be certainly good things ahead.
Yeah, and again, Jaden Daniels, and all of a sudden Terry McLaurin looks like, wow, that was a kind of a steal where he got him in the draft, which I know was later.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels and that entire Washington offense talk about
the
story of the NFL for this part of the
year. For sure.
We thought that we were going to see something similar in New Orleans, but they've tapered off. But Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, they just get better every week. So, all right, what game are we going to?
Okay, probably one of the most important games because the Soaring Eagles 1-4. He wins, he's 2-4, you're 2-4. He loses, he's 1-5, and you're happy because you're at 500 again.
500. Wow. 500 would be amazing. So, yeah, Knuckleheads right now sitting in 8th place, Sword Eagles in 9th place, both looking to climb out of this place that they're in. Right now, the Sword Eagles have an edge in projection, 123.8 to 118. Who takes it?
I personally do like the Danny Dimes pickup and putting him in against probably one of the worst defenses in the league in Cincinnati. So I think that has the potential to beat the projections that you have. I think Hall will do well. I always find it tough when you have 3 giants in one lineup. Is putting a lot of eggs in one basket.
Intentional. It's purely intentional.
So,
this is what we're doing here.
Yeah. Now, what you could say again, go back to my first comment, Cincinnati is not a good defense. So there's probably enough to feed all them mouths, for sure. At Wendell, I mean, he's a target machine. Unfortunately, he gets like 20 yards when he gets 10 catches, but he's solid. So
they got to do something a little bit more,
right?
Get him in space a little bit better.
But then I look at the Eagles. He's got old Mr. Reliable David Montgomery back, so I know he's on that. St. Brown, got Drake London. I think the Eagles are going to win because I think there's more potential for someone or some combination of people blowing up on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel your ceiling's a little lower because you got 3 giants in one lineup.
Can't argue. I also have 2 Eagles in my lineup, which makes me very uncomfortable. It's like
look at that, yeah.
It's not good.
I mean, you got 2 games. It'll tell you how much your team's going to score.
It's not good. I will say, I want to emphasize this point. This is Patrick Mahomes' bye week, and so I plugged in Daniel Jones. And let's get Daniel Jones up on the screen. His positional rank in BARFF Fantasy Football right now is 14. Patrick Mahomes on the bye week currently right now 15.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
And Jones, I don't know, was there one game
his games have been pretty solid. He had a terrible week 1. So
that's what it was. So week 1 after
20 and an off week getting 12. So he's gone over 20 points, or 20 points or more 3 times. I'll take it. Patrick Mahomes just gets me 17 points every week.
Yeah, and the last 2 weeks I've watched Jones. He's actually looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, he throws a nice ball.
Yeah, I mean, he's starting to connect on the deep ball. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a pivotal game for them. So
Definitely.
We'll see. All right, where are we going now?
That's it. That's our game.
Week.
Yeah.
All right. Let's.
So pivotal week for a lot of teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about the standings already, and again, this is the time. It's starting to get serious. If your lineup is starting to come together, like we're seeing with the Beans, then you're feeling really good. This is when you want your team to get up. If your team is starting to fall apart, we talked off air about how the entire NFL seems to be hurt constantly. I think we had the same conversation the last 2 years on various pods, but this is a pretty interesting stretch. The next 5-6 games going to be pretty interesting, and they will be pivotal in terms of what end of the season is going to look like.
Yeah. I mean, after this week, all of a sudden it all could bunch up again. And we won't be talking about people pushing panic buttons, but it's always unpredictable.
Yeah.
When you think something looks one way and you just one injury during a game or something happens, all of a sudden it just flips on its side. So
the injuries make me just completely insane.
Definitely.
I think that Christian McCaffrey is in some third world nation having elephant platelets dumped into his bloodstream to try to get better. And again, how many times have we talked about these high draft picks, and Christian McCaffrey is now the poster child for talented, injured all the time players.
Yeah, he lulled everybody into that, like, oh no, he's fine, and now he's reverting to, like two years ago, 3 years ago, those couple of years in a row. He was injury prone.
How many owners have felt the pain? Like, weigh in if you have felt the Christian McCaffrey pain. I feel like he's spread it around a bit, and it's just terrible for someone to have to go through to watch your first round draft pick produce 0. It's not good. No lineup threw in on the chat that he hopes Amari Cooper gets traded to a competent team. So interestingly, so does Amari Cooper.
Yeah, well,
he's probably hoping like hell.
Yeah, that's like Tyler, because actually I was trying to kind of pry Devontae Adams from him. Just for that same reason. Yeah, because
same situation.
But now it looks like he may not get traded. I saw things saying he may not be going anywhere. So
that would be so sad.
It is.
He
it is.
Needs to get out of.
He
that
needs to get out of there. Yeah.
Once you pretty much, I mean, everyone knows what's going on. Like they're talking about this injury that he has, but you know.
Yeah, they were just trying not to get hurt so they could trade him. Yeah.
And so they're trying to make it work, but they're not finding anyone to really step up. So that's. I'm rooting for him. I think it would be a great story if he went to the Jets, although Aaron Rodgers is looking every minute of his age on the field lately, but we'll see. That'll be an interesting story.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will get through the whole season. You could just tell he looks old, he's breaking down.
He looked terrible hobbling off the field last week. So, rooting for him, but what can you do at the end of the day? There's not a whole lot, so all right, we've got a survivor pool that is live with 4 competitors, so that'll be interesting. We've got some good games, and we're going to start to shake out who needs to make moves. We started with the trades. The waiver wire, like everyone that's watching knows, the waiver wire is...
Not a lot.
There's not a lot out there. If you're looking for a running back or something, there's just nobody out there unless some handcuffs start to rise up. So I think we're going to see, based on the results of this week's games, I think the trades will start to come out.
Yeah.
They've started, and I think we're going to see some more. So.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I mean, right now, like you said, there's nothing out there. Like this week, I picked up Ray McLeod. It's just a plug-in a guy for a bye week.
Yep.
And that's what you're going to see now.
Yep.
You're going to do a flyer on a guy based on who the matchup is. And
bye weeks plus injuries is
right.
You got to scramble. There's nothing, you don't want to sacrifice your lineup for one game. But
right.
There's teams that in BARFF, one game at the end of the season when it comes time for that last playoff spot, you're like, wow, I wish I had done something for that extra win.
That's why I give Jordan kudos, because I think that's the attitude you got to have. You can't concede. You cannot concede a game. If you got to do something, make a trade or do whatever, just to make sure that you're competitive. I absolutely agree with that.
Soren absolutely leaves it all on the field. He goes all out every week, so we'll give him props for that. Anything else for the good of the order? I think that the chat has dried up. We got no calls tonight. That's disappointing, but that's all right. Everyone's out on Friday night making their life work, so this was a good show. Any final thoughts?
No, I think I look forward to, kind of covering, recapping next week. I think it's really...
Yeah, next week's going to be
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
All right, we will put out when the next show is going to be as soon as we can, and that will do it for this episode of the BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Walt, thanks for coming on.
Love it.
Back in the bunker.
Yeah, it was great to be here. Good luck, everyone.
All right, thanks for everyone that weighed in on the chat. Good luck to all.